Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to crack the code on how companies are built from the ground up, financially speaking. We're getting right into what shares and equity really mean, beyond just the jargon.
You can have the best idea in the world, but turning it into a billion-dollar business, that takes cash, a lot of it. And the main way companies get that fuel is by selling off tiny little pieces of ownership. We call them shares. So what are they really, and how does this whole thing actually work? To really get it, we're going to follow the money. First, we'll look at the blueprint, how shares are even created. Then we'll see how those shares hit the market to raise cash. After that, we'll find out where all that money goes, into the company's treasure chest. And finally, we'll tie it all together to see why this stuff is so important. Okay, first things first, before a company can even think about asking for money, it has to write its own rule book. This is the legal foundation that decides the absolute maximum number of ownership pieces that can ever exist. That brings us to our first term, authorized shares. Think of this as the company setting its ultimate ambition. It's the total number of slices of the pie the company is ever allowed to create. By setting a huge number here, they're basically planning for the future, giving themselves room to raise more money or offer stock to employees down the road without a ton of legal headaches. Next up is par value. And honestly, this one's a little weird. It's an old school accounting thing. Now, what's crucial to understand is this is not the stock's price, not even close. It's more like a tiny legal placeholder value. We're talking a penny or even less. That's just there for the books. It has basically zero connection to what a share is actually worth. All right, so the rule book is written. Now it's time for the exciting part, turning that blueprint into actual spendable cash. This is all about getting those shares out there and into the hands of investors. And that happens through the issuance of shares. This is the moment it all gets real. It's when the company officially sells its stock to raise that critical capital. It could be a huge IPO on the stock exchange or a quiet deal with a few big investors. Either way, this is how the company gets the money it needs to grow. And this is the number everyone knows, the market price. This is what you see ticking up and down on TV. It has nothing to do with that tiny little par value we just talked about. The market price is alive. It's what investors, people like you and me, believe the company is worth right now, based on its performance, its potential, and just general confidence. So yeah, this chart really nails the difference. You've got par value over on one side. It's just a fixed, tiny legal formality. And then you have the market price, the dynamic, real-world value that's constantly changing. Two totally different things. So the company sold some shares, and now they've got a pile of cash. Great. But where does that money actually go? Well, it flows right into what you can think of as the company's financial treasure chest. This treasure chest is officially called corporate capital, or more commonly, shareholders' equity. It's basically the company's net worth, the value that truly belongs to its owners. And this equity, this value, it's built from two very different sources that together tell a really interesting story. So how do you fill the treasure chest? Well, there are two main ways. The first is pretty obvious. It's the money that comes in from selling shares to investors. The second way is from the profits the company makes over time and decides to keep and reinvest in itself. Let's start with share capital. This is that first big injection of cash. It's the total amount of money investors originally paid for their shares. This is what funds the whole operation at the beginning. It pays for factories, developers, marketing, you name it. It's the startup money from the owners. And then there's retained earnings. Now, this is a huge indicator of a company's health. It's all the profit the company has made over the years that it didn't give back to shareholders as dividends. Instead, it kept that cash to plow back into the business, funding new ideas, paying off debt, or just building a safety net. Okay, so we've gone from the blueprint all the way to the treasure chest. We've covered a lot of ground. But why does any of this financial plumbing actually matter to us? Let's just do a quick recap. A company dreams big with its potential authorized shares and a tiny legal par value. It gets its first big check from investors through share capital. That stock then trades at a real-world market price. And hopefully, over time, the company builds its own wealth with reinvested, retained earnings. See how each piece tells a part of the story? And that is the whole point. Knowing this stuff lets you look right past the daily chaos of the stock price. It gives you the decoder ring to read a company's financial statements and see the real story.
its structure, its history, and how healthy it truly is.
So, the next time you see a stock price going through the roof, ask yourself, what's really holding it up? Is it just investor hype, or is it built on years of solid reinvested profits? Because now you know the market price is just the cover of the book. The real story, that's written in the foundation.